Hi, welcome back to my High Plains Life podcast. I'm Danielle, your hostess, and it's been quite a while since my last podcast. It was the middle of December 2016. Since then, I have been out of rotation for a while. I will talk about it during off topic a little bit, but as you know, if you've been following my podcast, I suffer from severe depression and anxiety, and I was fighting a really bad bout. So I appreciate all the prayers and well wishes, and I am back in service. My puppy, Willow, helped a lot. It's my mental therapy dog. She's always just right by me because she knows when I need to pet her and just need some love. Either that or she's busy off chasing bugs. You know, priorities. Well, I have a lot to talk about. I actually could have done a whole lot in an episode at the beginning of January because that seems like when I completed most of my projects. There was a period of about 4 months when I didn't even knit. That's pretty bad. So, without further ado, let's get to On the Needles. I have a lot of finished objects. Bye. To begin with, I have my Kiyama cardigan out of my own hand spun. The green is some of my very first hand spun, and it's not consistent at all. It is uneven and thick and thin, and some areas have too high a twist, and others are not, don't have enough. But when you knit it up, I think it looks lovely. I was very excited to knit with my own hand spun. It all just evens out and blends together while still looking very non-commercial. I don't think I'm explaining that right or if it makes any sense, but and I have dog hair on it already. I started this maybe in mid-October. I think because I had an episode called Early Start to Nanny Swimo. And I finished it in December. I could have finished it a lot sooner, but I ran out of hand spun. So I looked to try and buy some of the same fiber. I called the original location where I purchased it, and they were all out. I looked online. Nobody had any. I tried to find something of the same color, even in a different fiber mix. And so I did order another green, and it just was the wrong shades. So I set it down, put it in the corner for a couple weeks, and thought about it. And I was like, okay, you know what? Let's go big. Go big or go home. And I purchased some Malabrigo in the glazed carrots colorway, as probably as bright a contrast as you can get. And I used it to accent the edge. I put it along the bottom edge to finish the length of my cardigan, and gave myself a couple extra inches on my sleeves, which I really did need. And I love it. Going back to repeat, all this information can be found on my project page in Ravelry. The designer is Nora Gone. I believe it's from Baracco pattern. I used US size 9 needles, and yes, my own hand spun, and then Malabrigo and glazed carrots. So let me show you. This, it's kind of meant to be swingy. A lighter weight yarn probably would work better with this design, to give it a lighter fabric and drapey. And it kind of turns out I might not have needed this much length after all, because it's pretty long. I like the fact it covers my butt. I love the accent of the orange against the green. And I just love it. Also, it's very warm, even with half-length sleeves. And since it is August, I am going to take it off right now. Besides, it doesn't really go with my t-shirt underneath. So that was my first finished object. And like I said, I finished that in December, just after Christmas, I believe. And that's kind of right at the edge of the period I stopped knitting. But that's not the only FO that I finished during that same time period. I also finished my transverse cardigan by Ann Weaver. I used Cascade Echo Plus yarn, size 8 needles. And this is finished. I seamed it up, but it's not finished. I have not blocked it yet. I think I showed you the buttons I was planning to use on it, but it's been a while. So hey, I will show again. This slab of fabric is my transverse cardigan. It has garter stitch edging on the sleeves. The bottom rolls a bit. Hopefully that'll come out when I block it. There is a little couple garter rows. And it's meant to cross over in the front. So that goes there. I put the buttons on here. This crosses over, and I have a nice little garter front edge along the front. I have 2 buttonholes, my very first buttonholes I've ever knitted. I hope they work okay and don't, I heard a lot of issues about things stretching out, etc., whatever, but these are the buttons I plan to use on it. I know there's 3 buttons and I only needed 2, but that's okay. These are handmade buttons by a lady in my quilt guild, T.G. Webb. And I do believe she makes and sells them online, but I don't have that information, so you could try Googling. But I just love the little bits of color in them. Can you see that flash of salmon in there with turquoise? It's just beautiful. So I plan on using 2 of these buttons, and that will be my transverse cardigan. It just needs blocked. I have had this sitting here for 8 months, just waiting on being blocked. So first couple months, I just didn't have the energy to do anything. And then the last couple months, it's been summer and too hot to think about wearing a sweater, so I haven't really had any urgency to block it. But and it's got dog hair all over it. Now, and the ends are woven in. I just don't like trimming the ends until after I block it. That way, if when I'm blocking it, I need to pull the fabric out, I don't lose any ends. Does that make any sense? Okay, so that's my theory. I have stray yarns hanging, but all the ends are woven in and it's all seamed up. So that is my transverse cardigan. And my nose itches. Sorry. Like I said, that is Cascade Echo Plus wool. And it is a very woolly wool. It is not next to skin soft, I would not say necessarily. It's meant to be worn with a blouse or shirt underneath it, which is my intention. So I don't foresee a problem there. I liked working with the Echo Plus, and I actually have like 2 skeins left. I have one whole skein that I didn't even touch, and another skein that I barely broke into. It was one of those, I'm always afraid I'm not going to have enough yarn, so either overbuy or I get overconfident and I don't buy enough. How many of you do that, right? I never just have the exact amount. You think I would be better at matching patterns with yarn, but I'm not yet. I consider myself a fairly recent garment knitter, so I'm still kind of going through the learning process, the learning curve of knowing how much yarn I'm going to need for a specific project. So, lesson learned. I guess I will take my extra yarn and put it on my For Solo Trade tab in my stash and see if anybody else would like some. It's not enough to make another project in unless it's like something for a baby or a toddler. And like I said, it's not next to skin soft, so I don't think it'd be something appropriate for a child or a baby. Let's see. I have another finished object. Again, it's just finished. Ends are woven in, even though again, you'll see some loose ends I haven't trimmed yet. It is not blocked. Do you sense a recurring theme here? Finished but not blocked. No pictures taken. This was a sample in my LYS, and I loved it. I loved everything about it, including the color scheme, and I said, that's exactly how I want to make mine. Several other women in my local knit group all fell in love with it too. And several of us, like 3 or 4 of us, in that same colorway. So we had kits made up. Well, the LYS did, and we decided to do a little knit along in our local knit group. And we knit on the Spice Market by Melanie Berg. Yes, it went through a big fad phase last year for a while. And I totally jumped on the bandwagon. I love it. I am generally not one to follow the fads. I still have not knit a color affection. I know, right? But I love my On the Spice Market. So the LYS had yarn kits made up from a local dyer, Dragon Fairy Dye Works. She is online. And she dyed up the colorway in her, it's Silvara Fingering. It's a merino silk blend. I still need to block and take pictures, obviously, but I love it! I love it! It's gorgeous! Look at those colors, the greens and the blues and the rust. It's just beautiful. There's naturals that just, like, it's my coloring. It was intended for me. And I'll keep on believing that. Sorry. So, I finished. Oh, and we see this little stitch marker here. This is because I have a loose stitch. Do you see that? It's not a dropped stitch. It's just a loose stitch. I did there's like a little triple stitch in there. And I apparently did it incorrectly. And now I have this loose extra fiber in there that I don't know what to do with, because I didn't discover it until I was already way past that point. So I was not ripping out and going back to fix it. It's not a dropped stitch, so it's not like it's going to run or anything. I don't know how to fix it. I was just going to block it, see if I could, reposition that yarn, so that it took up the slack a little bit along the way throughout that entire row. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and hope that works. But love it, love it, love it. It's beautiful. Beautiful. And I plan on wearing this a lot once it cools down because it's very hot right now. And I have yet another FO. I know, right? This one was not, and this was finished in January. So I've had this sitting for months, just waiting for a bath. My next FO is something I just recently finished, as in yesterday. I knit the Etched Rio Wrap by Sarah Smulland. It is out of Handmaiden Fine Yarn, Cashmere and Silk blend in a beautiful blue-green called Tourmaline. I cannot say anything more about this yarn. I love it. I would knit with this and nothing else for the rest of my life if I could. However, it is incredibly expensive. The only reason I bought 4 skeins of Handmaiden Cashmere and Silk to make this shawl is because it was 20% off. Otherwise, you would not have caught me going near it. And it was still very expensive. So I spend a lot of time rubbing this on my face, going up to other people, rubbing it on their face and say, feel, touch my precious. I know, a little crazy. I was concerned I would not have enough yarn because when I finished the end of my project, this is what I had left. And I said, oh my God, there's only like 2 yards. I won't have enough left to seam. And then I remembered that I had a little butterfly at the beginning of my knitting for my cast on. Yay! I had plenty of yarn to do the seaming. So basically, this is a giant rectangle that you knit. This is either my cast on or my bind off edge. Don't know. Mostly stockinette, rows and rows of stockinette, and then you get to this little lace edge. It's a very simple 16 row repeat. Purl back on the wrong sides. Again, I need to wash and block this so that the lace will open up and you can see it beautifully. All the ends are woven in. I think I might go back. Look at my seam. So it's a long rectangle. You fold it in half and then seam along the top. I thought I would have more seaming to do, until I actually looked at the pattern, and then I'm like, oh, it's not that much. I have plenty of yarn. Yeah, that is as much seaming as I did, like 14 inches. 12 inches maybe. So you fold it in half, seam, and then leave a hole for your neck or your head. It drapes over your neck like a sideways poncho with this beautiful lace at the bottom. So can't really tell right now, I know. When it's blocked, it'll look so much prettier. So I'm very excited about this. It is so soft though. It's not really showing true to color. There we go. It's brighter blues and greens with some teals in there, and that is pretty accurate. I apologize, the lighting in here isn't very good today. It's overcast and cloudy, so I'm not getting a lot of natural light, even though I'm still getting enough to leave glare on my glasses. Yay! So that is my etched Rio wrap. I have to check my show notes to see what else I am doing. Oh, so current whips. I started a long time ago a prayer shawl. I'm in the prayer shawl ministry at my church. This is the second one I have been working on. It's just the very simple garter stitch shawl. You can find there's no notes on my project page for Ravelry. I'm just using a old acrylic yarn that I had. In purple. And look, I ran out of yarn. You can kind of tell it's just a triangular shaped shawl. Yarn overs at the ends and in the middle to create increases. Knit through the back of the yarn overs as I come back through so I don't leave holes. Very simple triangular garter stitch shawl. Ran out of yarn. I do not have another acrylic yarn to match this that would work at all. I do, however, and I don't want to go buy more. The whole point was to get rid of this out of my stash. I do, however, have a sock yarn that I have already made a pair of socks out of with purple and gray and lavender in it. It's a fingering weight versus worsted, I guess. I don't know, whatever the hell it is. And I think it would blend okay. It would add like an accent along the edge, a little edge accent. I'm not going to take the row back. This is really bad of me. I'm just going to start where I ran out of yarn, which is in the middle of the row. I feel bad because it's for a church project, but I'm kind of way too lazy to go back through and unknit and tink the entire half of the row that I already knit. I think it will blend well enough. So my plan is to hold this double so that the weights are more similar, and to knit holding this double, and this is a nice sock blend wool nylon, to do an edging for it. Thoughts? Yay? Nay? Well, that's my prayer shawl. I get asked, so what are prayer shawls for? Do you wear them when you pray? let me explain. No, you could, I guess, but the group of women, it's all women, in the prayer shawl ministry make shawls and hats and scarves. And we put thoughts and prayers into them as we knit them, that they will bring warmth and comfort to the people that wear them. If somebody is sick or having a difficult time, if they have a sick family member, a lot of times they are given a shawl that we have completed, or they can come and grab them themselves. There is a stack of finished shawls in the parish office, and anybody is welcome at any time, well, as long as the office is open, to go and grab a shawl if they or someone they know needs it. If a parish member is in the hospital or has a family member in the hospital, and somebody finds out about it, and we have to be told, a shawl is donated to them. You know how cold and clinical hospitals can be, and so sometimes a prayer shawl can bring warmth and comfort and just lets people know that their community is thinking about them. So that's what a prayer shawl is. I hope that kind of explained it a bit. No, it's not a shawl we wear over our head and pray like in the old movies. Sorry, no. Okay, sorry, that was a long rant. I have another work in progress. That's better. Okay, now we can talk. Well, it's in a plastic bag right now, but it's going into one of my new acquisitions. This is a project bag made by a local woman. It's called Frog Off Studios. And it's a nice size bag. It can hold 3-4 skeins of yarn. And it's got a D-ring and a little wristlet. And you just gather the top of the bag together, wrap this around, and snap it. And it stays closed. So that is what I'm keeping my new project in. I just have a plastic bag because of the beads for the moment. And that is my Celestarium by Audrey Nichols. I have had this in my queue for 3 years. I have said, someday I'm going to knit that when I'm a capital K knitter. I think I'm a capital K knitter now. I've got some garments under my belt, pile full of shawls, handful of socks. I feel pretty comfortable reading patterns, charted or written. I'm a capital K knitter. That's right. So, Saturday, I started my Celestarium. Look how tiny it is! There's my center. I have not pulled it tight yet. That is my bead for my North Star Polaris. Because Celestarium is a shawl that is taken with this, it's a pie shawl, with the center point taken from Polaris, the North Star, and the constellations in the Northern Hemisphere are spread out throughout the shawl. Each star in the constellation is denoted by a space, a yarn over and a two together, and then on the next row you put a bead. I, being the total geek that I am, oh, are you ready for this? I am using a different colored bead based upon the magnitude of each star. Yay! Geeks unite! This is so exciting. It's not like I have to do the work. The work's already been done for me. There are other nerds out there. They have already done the research. They went onto NASA website, the American Astrological Society website, all Wikipedia even. They did all the research, identifying the stars in the constellations, identifying their magnitudes, and assigning them a color. It is awesome. Yeah. Sorry, my blood pressure went up a little there, along with my heart rate. Oh, I thought it particularly appropriate to start it this weekend, since yesterday was the total solar eclipse. Here in Colorado Springs, we got about a 90% eclipse, and it hardly got dark at all. It was like not even a cloud over the sun dimness. So kind of surprised, but I did enjoy seeing it. But due to the timing, I thought, what a better time to start my solostarium than now. So I started it, and that is as far as I got. Because my next stitch is to add a bead. And I have not gone through my charts yet, my pages of charts, to mark up which color each bead is. So the work's been done. They tell me what location in the chart to put what color beads. I just have to go through and mark my charts. So I'm kind of stalled until I get that done. But look at this yarn. Isn't it gorgeous? It is a local dyer. The yarn is called Spruce Mountain. This is her Twinkle base in the Midnight Blue 2 colorway. It is a merino nylon stellina blend. And I got 3 skeins of it. So this shawl is going to cost me $100. Over. Because then I bought the beads. So look at that twinkle. I love the color. There's just a bit of variegation, just a little tonal. It's gorgeous. And so this is, I started with double points because they said that was the easiest way to start with the magic circle thing cast on. Which I started and took out like 6 times. But I'm a capital K knitter. That shit will not stop me. I figured it out. Thank you, YouTube. So, there's the start of my shawl. Woo! And my yarn. You saw my bead for Polaris. I thought I needed something special. And then here are my beads for the rest of it. I've got yellow, blue, orange, purple, green. Ah, that really is a green. And red. So I'm using 5 different colors, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can do math. Yay! 5 different colors assigned to a range of magnitudes. And I'm using size 8 beads. No, I lied. I'm using size 6 beads. Because that is what will fit on my fingering weight yarn. Yay! So, very excited. Oh, let me show you my yarn label. Spruce Dragon LLC, Jan Seltman, local Colorado Springs dyer, and she is online. Spruce Dragon LLC, oh, that's her email. She's online. She shows at local fiber events. I am so excited about this. So that's what I'm going to do tonight, in case anybody cares. I'm going to be printing out my charts and going through and color coding which beads get what color based upon the star magnitude. Doesn't it just thrill you thinking about that? Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. It's going to be a hot evening, let me tell you. Woo! Kicking! Okay. I wear my geekiness proudly. That's right. I also have several recent acquisitions. You saw my new project bag. I also got a new mug, which I showed in an Instagram picture, but I don't have it with me, so you'll have to see what it looks like next time. I bought the yarn for my Celestarium, and I also fell down and bought a whole bunch of other yarn. A local yarn store that had gone out of business in the last year still had a large remainder of yarn and fiber in stock, so they had a one-day only fire sale, basically. So I went and hurt myself shopping. I got the bag free because I bought so much yarn. It was Table Rock Llamas that had gone out of business. Do you see how big? I bought all this. 2 sweaters worth of yarn, fiber, couple extraneous skeins. That's right. Let's see what I bought. Oh, this is not from this purchase. This is from my You and Me purchase. But I did get this sock yarn. Look at the self-striping. Isn't it beautiful? Okay, everything else is from Table Rock. I got Louette Gems, 100% merino wool, in this beautiful blue color. It's pretty color accurate. $4 a skein. It's normally $17. I think I either got 6 or 8 skeins. So just barely sweater quality. Vest. I got everything they had. I wish they had had a couple more. I would have purchased them, but that's what I did. I bought 2 skeins of Cascade Ultra Pima Cotton in this bright, vibrant purple because my niece Avonlea loves purple. So I'm not sure what I'm going to make with it yet, but I'm going to do something for her. I won't leave the other nieces out either, but I don't have any ideas for them at this time. I bought this beautiful skein of 100% prime alpaca in a natural color. It's gorgeous. It is sport weight, 665 yards. This goes with I have 3 or 4 shades of gray in varying shades. And I'm not sure if I want to use this with them or combine them differently in some other projects because that's a lot of yardage for a hap shawl. That's kind of what I'm thinking. A hap shawl or some kind of Shetland inspired shawl. Something huge and big and comfy that more than wraps around my shoulders and I can just wrap up in and snuggle. I got 1 skein of dye for me, merino and baby alpaca, in a more than a sport. US 6 needles, 125 grams, 249 yards. Yeah, DK. No, DK is sport. I'm confused. 80% fine merino wool, 20% baby alpaca. It's lovely. I might dye it or just use it in something as is. Then I have 6 skeins of Cascade Yarns Cloud, 70% merino wool, 30% alpaca. And it's not a purple, it's blue. That's kind of accurate. Almost. It's a little more teal than it's showing. This is what I think I'm going to make my lemongrass out of. So exciting. I have 1325 yards, and if I make the largest size lemongrass in the pattern, it says I need 1350. So I'm kind of taking a risk, cutting it close. I'm not sure if I really need to make the largest size in the pattern, but it says 9 inches positive ease, and that's what's on the model. So that's a lot. I don't know if I need that much positive ease, so I might go 1 size down, and in that case I'd have plenty of yarn. So we're still thinking about it. Hints, suggestions, recommendations. Has anybody made a lemongrass before? I'd love to know. What else did I buy? Oh, and I bought a bunch of fiber. I bought a pound of white alpaca. And I bought a pound, let me get this off my lap. I'm sorry for the noise and the plastic bag crinkling, of soy silk. Natural color soy. I bought a pound. It is this slightly off-white cream color, and oh my god, it is so soft. You can like see the thinness of it though. I have never spun soy before. I have 2 balls like this to make up a pound. I've never spun soy. A lot of people compare it to a silk, only slipperier. I can tell it would be very slippery. I am not sure if I want to spin it by itself, blend it with something. Do I blend the soy with the alpaca? Who knows? It's very drapey, but not what is it when wool does? It takes its shape because of the crimp in the fiber. Well, it's not that. It's the link you get is the link you get. It'll drape beautifully, but it won't stretch or take up. So, soy. Has anybody spun soy before? Did you blend it with something? Oh, sorry, Willow. I've been sitting here too long. She's wanting attention. She goes, any thoughts on spinning soy? Let me know. I am absolutely looking for feedback. Oh, what is that? What is that? Does it smell funny? All these smells. She loves it when I bring wool into the house, new wool. She's like, what is it, Mom? It smells like sheep. So she's good with that. Okay, so those were my recent acquisitions. I have done some spinning recently. Before my recent episode, I got some spinning done. It was some Cheviot, which the first time I'd ever spun Cheviot, but it was from a prepared top. So from Into the World, I cannot remember the colorway. I have 2 bobbins of about this size. I divided it up. And that's pretty accurate colors. Olive greens, some teals, some darker blues, some sea green. And I'm going to 2-ply them together. I was not careful about where the colors went. I just spun as it was. So I don't know how many yards I'll get or what weight. I spun much more consistently this time. That's what I was going for, was just keeping it a consistent thickness. And I think I accomplished that. I sampled frequently. Yay! I listened to the experts. So I love these colors. I cannot remember the name of the colorway, but I do know that it's a Cheviot from Into the World. I also, it is on my spinning wheel. I did not bring the bobbin up. I'm spinning some merino silk blend from Paradise Fibers. And it's a green colorway that I purchased hoping that it would match my previous hand spun in my Kiana sweater, and it didn't. It was way too bright. So I have almost half a pound in that, almost a pound, maybe 12 ounces. And I am spinning that up. And that is on my wheel right now. So that is what I have been spinning. All that for all my needles. Under the needle, I did have a large sewing project accomplished recently. My parents came and visited the last week in June, and my mother brought a quilt kit with her, and we spent the entire week sewing, and we finished a quilt top, a queen size quilt top, 90 by 90 square quilt top in a week. I did the stitching, she did the pressing, and we both worked together to figure out the layout. It was quite complicated. It did come in a kit, so luckily all the pieces were pre-cut. I don't have it here. My mother took it home with her, and she put the borders on it and has sent it out for quilting. So I will include a picture here. Ta-da! Hopefully that worked. As for in the garden, I have nothing but rhubarb. I've pulled all the weeds, pulled them some more, and they grew back and I pulled them again. My perennials are doing well. Those that the rabbits haven't dug up at any rate. They don't make burrows in my front yard necessarily. What they do is they dig a hole right at the base of my plants, and it's just a shallow scoop of earth, and they lay in there and hide in the shade all day. And they kill my plants because they dig up the roots. Or they eat them off. They're like, oh, fresh foliage, let's take a snack. And so some of them died. The ones that have survived are doing very well. My anise hyssop has been attracting the hummingbirds. I love watching them in the yard. I have some in the front and the back. So when I sit out back on the patio and rock, I can enjoy watching the hummingbirds along with the bees. And I've really enjoyed myself. I have not done any additional watering this year, and it looks like my xeriscaping is doing well. It's about the second or third year for most of my perennials. And so I did do supplemental watering the first and second year. And this year I'm just letting them go according to what rains naturally fall. I have nothing for in the bee yard. I am not doing any bees this year. All of my hives died last year, and all 2 of them. Woo! And I did not start up again this year. I did not take any swarm calls or cutout calls. I needed a break, and I will start up again next spring. Off topic. I was having a really hard time there for a while. Thanks for sticking with me. If you came back and have watched this podcast after the 8 months I was gone, I really appreciate it. As I have spoken about before, I suffer from depression and anxiety. I did have a significant episode that brought me down for about 3-4 months, and part of it had to do with my medications being mixed up for a while, having problems getting refills, so I was off of some for a short period of time. And it was amazing how big a difference it was, and that everybody noticed. Basically dropped off face of the earth for 3 months. So I apologize, but I am doing much better. I am continuing therapy and medications, and I have stepped right into this summer and try to enjoy every bit of it that I can. It feels like time has been flying by since. We've done a lot of traveling. We went to Phoenix a couple times to see the nieces. And then in July, we went camping in Yellowstone with them. And I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I think it's amazing that I grew up and spent 30 years of my life in Wyoming and made it to Yellowstone once, maybe twice. It was so close, and we didn't really take advantage of it because we're like, we got the rest of Wyoming to play in. But Yellowstone truly is a place unto itself. I understand why it was created as the very first national park. And it was awesome. Had a great time with the family. Enjoyed camping. Enjoyed the sights and the geysers and the wildlife. It was amazing, and I had a great time. Highly recommend getting out and enjoying your state and national parks near you. You might think you have plenty of time. I'll get to it later. Go! You still have time before summer's over. Fall can be a beautiful time to visit also. Go and take advantage of those locations near you and enjoy yourself. As from what I've been watching, In the Snit is a podcast I've been watching for a while, and I think I've mentioned it before. And I had the opportunity to meet Christy, who is the host of the In the Snit podcast, when she came to Colorado Springs to visit some family. I thought it was very cool. This was a long time. This was probably in December, after my last podcast. So it was very cool. And I will try and post a photo. I think that's all I have. I will hopefully not be away for as long as last time. I'm trying to do this every 2 weeks, maybe every 3, based upon my knitting and sewing output. I wish good health and good times and good family to you all, and I will see you later. Bye.